Thank you very much for coming to the Institute, and congratulations for your medal.
Thank you.
The first question is, you've been kind of the superstar of various festivals at the Institute. What's been the best drawing duo that you've done?
Well, it's very hard to say which is the best because they're all so different. I mean, I did one with the last one I did was with Philippe Dumas, who I've known for many, many years. So it was special for me because we hadn't seen each other for a long time. And in fact, before he arrived, I discovered a photograph of us taken here at the Institute. It must be 20 years ago. We looked a lot younger. And that was memorable. I liked them all. I had one with Jean Sfar, and we know each other quite well. And in a way, we draw in a rather similar sort of way. So that was enjoyable. And one of the early ones I did was with Bruno Etz. And he's someone I met in Salon, various places in France. So it's very nice to meet friends again, really, I think, you know.
So just talking about Sfar, I noticed that in his book he actually mentioned you.
There are one or two mentions in one or two books. Which one is
and
this?
This one's just in the library, so I was wondering if you could just say a bit about that. And also, because we have the talk on Culturethèque, and he said that he takes his inspiration from bad drawings. So what do you take your inspiration from?
I don't know. I think a lot of the time. Oh, there we are. Actually, I'm pleased to say I've appeared several times in Jean Sfar's books, and curiously enough, this is one which I think I haven't seen, strangely, but there is one with a photograph of me just here across the road from the Institute, where Joanne was having his photograph taken, and he didn't quite know how to settle down to this, and he said, give me something to look at. So I walked across the road and I did a bit of Charlie Chaplin for him, and that photo is in another one of these books. And he said that for him there were two ways of doing watercolour, and one was mine, which was a sort of the messy way, I think, and the other was Hugo Pratt, and who he's a great admirer of. Well, I'm rather fascinated to see this. Perhaps I can borrow it and read it.
It's from the library, so feel free.
But I admire his work very much, and I think we both like that way of drawing. I mean, he's a very good draftsman, and of course it's complicated for him because he writes a great deal as well. You know, and he has this wonderfully active mind. But it's always very interesting to see what he does next. And I like what he does very much.
So the next question is about Pennac. So I saw in the foreword that you came to the talk that he did at the Institute.
This is...
At the Institut Français Daniel Pennac?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm fascinated by Pennac, and I was very fortunate to know him. I can't remember what order we did this in, but I think the first time I knew about him was he'd written the book Comme un roman, which is about teenagers reading and so on. And it comes with a set of rules for not discouraging people from reading, the droit du lecteur, and I illustrated that for Gallimard, and then it appeared in England as well. And then Comme un roman was translated into English, and I was asked to illustrate it. And in fact, because he was a teacher for a long time, and I was a teacher not for very long, but that was what I was trained to be, I thought perhaps they allowed me to write an introduction to that book, because I felt we had felt very much the same about teaching and education. And then subsequently he did this, what is it? I forgot what it's called in French. Chagrin d'école, yes, that's right. And so I was pleased to do the cover for that. But he's a very interesting man to talk to. And in fact, I did a book which is called in English it's called The Life of Birds, and Gallimard were going to publish that, and it's not a book for children, it's an adult book, but it depicts birds as people, or perhaps I mean people as birds. I don't know, but I mean they wear clothes, but they have beaks, that kind of thing. And it was fascinating to me because I wrote to Daniel and said, "You're probably too busy, but could you write a few words for the beginning of this?" And he said yes, and he said, "But come and show me the pictures." So I took all the pictures, and he wanted to look at them. But what was fascinating was they were different characters and so on. And I just got very little titles at the back, but he started looking at them and started inventing titles for them. You know, and it was almost as though he started writing stories. You know, he looks at this, le mot juste, you know,
and so of course we have to talk about Roald Dahl.
Yes,
it's a
yeah.
natural link. Who would you say is the most French character that you've drawn for Roald Dahl, if you had to put a nationality on his?
Well, this is a new question, and I've never thought of it. I mean, of course, all the books have been translated into French and are well known there. And there is a story about, I believe, about Jean Sfar, who said to one of his friends, "I'm going to London to see Roald Dahl," and his friend said, "I don't think you can now, because this was after he died, you see." But he was going to see me, which he thought was a sort of would do very well kind of thing. I don't know. I think this is a question I've never thought about before, but you've given me this book of Charlie et le Grand Ascenseur de Verre on the chocolaterie, and there could be an argument that it is Willy Wonka, I think. Now I'm thinking about it, because he has that sort of sense of humour and of mischief, and I'm not quite sure what the French word is, but I think there must be something like mesquinerie or something like that. That it's that sort of vivacity about his view of things, and willingness to interfere with it in some way that's interesting. But I'm not sure that you'd be wearing that, but that's possible, I think.
So now about Les Fables de La Fontaine, which you've kindly brought for
Yes.
us. So what would be your favourite Fable de La Fontaine?
Can I get this out?
Do you need
I had... I'll just screw that up. I had a wonderful time doing these, because I was allowed to do 50, and but I read them all, I think, and I was fortunate because there is a very good American translation, which is what the Folio Society use in this book, and I had the translation on one side, and then I had the French version on the other to make sure that it all worked. It's very hard to say which are my favourites. What I was fascinated to discover was how adult they were, you know, and obviously some are suitable for children, but others are not, and they're sort of, some of them are kind of short stories with it, and then there's I love this one about, just because it makes such a nice picture. This is the rat and the oyster. There's a little travelling rat, but there are some others where the fascinating ones where they are for adults, and this is in English The Death and the Woodsman, and what's it, Bouchard et la Mort, or something like that. And there's a wonderful story there about he's suffering and carrying, you know, he's at the end of his life almost, really, at the end of his tether, and he calls on death, and La Mort arrives and says, "What can I do for you?" And he says, "You couldn't help me with these logs, could you?" But it's to convey that figure is fascinating, and the change of mood from one to the other is there's another extraordinary one here. about the man who has a cat whom he loves so much that he gets her translated into a woman, which and it's wonderful. It's all perfect until. Do you know the story? Until
I do at the end.
until the mice appear in the bedroom, and suddenly her instincts announce themselves. That was an irresistible picture to draw. So it's full of fascinating things to draw, and I think it's maybe one of the. There is a certain alert quality in relaxed but alert quality that in La Fontaine that I love very much indeed. You know, so that was really one of the nicest things I've ever had to do. And I don't know whether you want to ask me about Candide, but that's one of the other nicest things I've had to do.
I think just to quickly finish, unfortunately.
Yes, just as you wish.
We've got. I found that Roald Dahl kind of answered a mini.
Oh yes.
Proust questionnaire. So
Oh.
I thought we would ask you, and then see if you have any long lost relations with Mr. Dahl.
Yes, I wonder if I can do that.
Your favourite colour, couleur préférée.
Couleur préférée. C'est très difficile. Un mélange de toutes les couleurs.
Roald Dahl said yellow. So.
Yes.
Votre plat préféré.
Plat préféré, probablement, c'est du poisson, c'est sans doute un homard, près de la mer, évidemment.
Roald Dahl said caviar. So.
Yeah.
Votre musicien préféré.
Pour la musique, je suis presque sourd, effectivement, mais sans doute c'est Mozart.
Interesting. Roald Dahl said Beethoven.
Yes.
Vos personnes préférées dans la vie.
Dans la vie. Non, j'ai quelques amis qui sont mes amis depuis toute la vie presque. Il y a quelques-uns qui sont ici ce soir. Mais c'est difficile à trier entre 4 ou 5 qui sont mes préférés en quelque sorte. Je peux faire mention de John Yeoman qui est ami et collaborateur dans les livres et l'artiste Linda Kitson qui était une de mes étudiants il y a longtemps maintenant, mais très intéressante comme artiste et beaucoup d'autres.
Si je n'étais pas écrivain, j'aimerais être.
Je crois que ça serait sans doute un enseignant, peut-être un comédien, mais si j'avais fait ce métier-là, il y avait sans doute problème avec les paroles, parce que je n'avais pas assez de mémoire, mais le rôle de comédien m'intéresse beaucoup parce que c'est ça qu'on fait en dessinant pour les livres. On imagine qu'on est chacun de ces personnages.
And then just the last word, what advice would you give to budding artists, whether they be French or English?
Dessiner tout le temps.